Hey everyone, Hoop Scrutiny here. So this past offseason there have been many signings, extensions, and trades. They all seem so quick due to the offseason being so short. Although there weren't any big names that were moved around anywhere, there were definitely some key additions to teams that could definitely make them contenders. So in this video, I'll be talking about my predictions for the Eastern Conference playoff standings. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks will remain as the number 1 seed. Giannis recently signed his Supermax, so I think the Bucks did an extremely good job in keeping him happy where he is. They went ahead and got Drew Holiday this offseason, who I think is a very good addition to the team. They did lose Eric Bledsoe in the process, but I think Drew will provide the same defensive value as him, if not even better, and I think he's a much better offensive player. I would also like to see the Bucks run the offense through Holiday more and have Giannis play a more off-the-ball role, where he can simply dominate the paint even more. They replaced veteran George Hill with veteran DJ Augustine. Torrey Craig is a solid defensive wing that they signed. Britton Forbes is a great shooter, and Bobby Portis is definitely an upgrade from Robin Lopez in my opinion. So I definitely think the Bucks can remain at the top of the East for the 3rd time in a row. At the number 2 seed, I have the Brooklyn Nets. Normally I would have the number 1, but I think KD and Kyrie will definitely sit out some games since they're coming off injuries. They kept the core players from last year in Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, and Jared Allen. They even signed Jeff Green and Landry Shamet. And let's not forget all of the major coaching additions in Steve Nash, D'Antoni, and Amari Stoudemire. If no drama regarding team chemistry happens to this team, and both KD and Kyrie can remain healthy till the end of the season, I think the Nets will definitely be a top 2 seed. At number 3, I have the Boston Celtics. The Celtics got rid of Gordon Hayward, which will definitely allow Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to progress immensely. Kemba is supposedly out till mid-January, but the Celtics did go ahead and sign a solid backup point guard in Jeff Teague. He showed towards the end of last season with the Hawks that he's willing to accept a bench role and can provide some reliable scoring. They lost Cantor and replaced it with Tristan Thompson, but I don't really see any difference in that because I still think Daniel Tice is going to start since he's a solid rim protector. I also like the draft additions with Aaron Naismith and Peyton Pritchard, who are solid third stringers that can score when their opportunity is needed. But other than that, I think that Tatum and Brown will definitely be better than last year, but as a team, I think the Celtics will remain as the 3rd seed. Next, I have the Miami Heat. Let's just say that they made it to the finals as the 5th seed last year and they pretty much got even better. The only key pieces that they lost were Jay Crowder and maybe Derrick Jones Jr., but they did sign Mo Harkless and Avery Bradley, who are elite 3-and-D guys. They re-signed Goran Dragic, but we know how injury prone he is, and he's also getting up there in age, so we may see some valuable minutes with Avery Bradley. I think Tyler Hero is going to be much better than he was last year, and I also think drafting Precious Achiuwa was a steal. We may not see any playing time from him, but with the deep rotations our exposed likes to play, we may see him try to prove something this year. So I have the Heat as a 4th seed, and they may even surpass the Celtics and take the 3rd spot. At number 5, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. At full health, I think this team is definitely a contender to make it to the finals. They made some coaching changes with replacing Brett Brown with Doc Rivers, and even some front office changes with bringing in Daryl Morey. I think these are all upgrades, and the offseason moves they made were definitely helpful. They got rid of Horford and the terrible contract that they gave him last year, and replaced him with Dwight, who showed last year that he's a solid backup center that's willing to take the 6-man role. Also, the main problem with Philly last year was their shooting, so they went ahead and got 2 elite 3-point shooters in Seth Curry and Danny Green. I think having a lot of shooters on the floor will definitely open up the lane for Ben Simmons to drive to the hoop more. I have them currently listed as taking the 5th seed due to their stars being extremely injury prone, but at full strength, this team is extremely elite. I have the Washington Wizards taking the 6th spot. They were a 9 seed last year with Bradley Beal being the sole primary scorer of the team. You bring in Russell Westbrook, who I think will be a good fit next to Bradley Beal, and re-sign Davis Bertans, who is a really good 3-point shooter. The Wizards' youth will flourish as well with Rui Hachimura, Thomas Bryant, and rookie Denny Avdija. They signed Robin Lopez to be the backup center for the team, but I still don't think this team has that much depth, which is why I have them listed as 6th. I have the Toronto Raptors at the 7th spot. Out of all of last season's contenders, I think Toronto had the worst offseason. They lost Ibaka and Gasol, which were 2 key pieces of their front court, but they did re-sign Fred VanVleet and Chris Boucher, who I think will take a major leap this season. They even brought in more depth at the center spot with Aaron Baines and Alex Len, and Nick Nurse's coaching strategies are still the best in my opinion, so I still have this team making the playoffs, but just not being a top 5 seed like they used to be. Lastly, I have the Indiana Pacers snagging the 8th spot. They were the 4th seed last year, and they pretty much have the same players as last season. This roster is really deep, and with Oladipo and Sabonis at full health, they will definitely make the playoffs. But I have them at 8th because I don't think Oladipo will be who he was 2 years ago, and also this team didn't really make any offseason changes while other teams greatly improved. But I do think this team will make some major changes throughout the season, especially with Miles Turner, so this is definitely subject to change. So those are my 8 teams that I think will make it to the playoffs. There are many other teams that have a chance to make it, but I will now quickly make a case for each team on why I don't think they will. I think the Hawks made huge changes to their roster, but I don't see them having a better record than the teams I mentioned before. Trae Young isn't really a winning player, and I think there needs to be a secondary star for this team to make it to the playoffs. The Hornets made some big moves as well, but they don't really have any depth, and I don't think a pass-first rookie is going to be leading them to the playoffs. The Knicks did have an okay offseason, but no big names really came to the team, so I think the Knicks will be the Knicks. The Pistons had a very weird offseason, and they signed too many big men, and the whole team is pretty much consisted of injury-prone players. The Bulls didn't really do much except draft Patrick Williams, who was a very questionable selection. The Magic were one of those teams that didn't really make any major moves, but saw other teams get better, kicking them out of playoff contention. And lastly, the Cavs didn't really do anything either except re-sign Drummond, draft Isaac Okoro, and get JaVale McGee, so I think they'll remain 15th like they were in the prior season. So yeah, those are all my thoughts on the Eastern Conference and who I think will and will not make it to the playoffs. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Be sure to like and subscribe as well. I'm a brand new channel looking to create more and more videos like this about NBA content. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll see y'all on my next upload.